Good morning from the Bulloch County Historical Society. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that's real dear to all of us. It's called Bulloch County. And today we have three wonderful corporate sponsors. They are the Statesboro Publishing Company, Claude Howard Lumber Company, and Ellis Wood Contracting. There aren't any finer folk than these in Bulloch County. I'm proud to call the people associated with these my friends. No, they're not my friends. They're my dear friends. Most of them have been my friends for all my life. When Oglethorpe founded Georgia in 1733, it was established as a proprietary colony. This area of land stretched from the Atlantic Ocean all the way to the Mississippi River. Roughly 20 years later, another type of government was needed, and Georgia became a crown colony of Great Britain. In 1758, an act was passed by the Georgia legislature during the administration of Governor Henry Ellis, dividing the province of Georgia into 8 parishes. And they were St. Paul, St. George, St. Matthew, Christ Church, St. Philip, St. John, St. Andrew, and St. James. They were set up to provide religious worship according to the rules of the Church of England. Parishes also had civil functions, such as setting taxes for the relief of the poor. So welfare and helping others goes back to our founding fathers. And registering all births, marriages, and deaths. In 1765, those regions south of the Altamaha River were made into parishes, and they were St. David, St. Patrick, St. Thomas, and St. Mary. Georgia was governed through the use of parishes until the late 1700s. St. Philip's Parish, ours, included the town of Hardwick, the district of Ogeechee, and Archibald Island. I'm so glad to know that once Archibald Island was part of where I live now. In 1796, an act of the Georgia legislature created a county from the lands of St. Philip's Parish, and that was called Bulloch. It was Georgia's 21st county and consisted of over 500,000 acres. Today, Bulloch County has 441,000 acres. It was land of pine trees and sandy soil. Later, Bulloch County gave up land when Candler, Emanuel, and Jenkins counties were formed. The entire act is included in a wonderful book, A Century of Progress. Interesting sidebar, Bulloch is spelled incorrectly every time it is used in the legislative act. It is spelled with a K, not an H. However, since the county was named for Archibald Bullock, we know that this was an error. Let's talk about Archibald. Archibald Bullock was a native of South Carolina who purchased a plantation on the Savannah River in 1758. He was a very active patriot who openly opposed the British Parliament. He was a member of the Friends of Liberty and was also a Freemason. His name is listed on the 1779 Masonic rolls of Solomon's Lodge No. 1 at Savannah, along with George Walton, John Adam Troutland, and others. He was made president of the Provincial Congress of Georgia. When a copy of the Declaration of Independence was received in Georgia on August the 10th, 1776, it was Archibald who read this first to the council and then went and read this at public squares and at the Liberty Pole in downtown Savannah. Bulloch would have been one of Georgia's signers of the Declaration, but he decided to return to Georgia to aid in the revolution. Yes, a very important revolution for all of us. He actively fought in 2 major battles near Savannah, the Battle of the Rice Boats and the Battle of Tybee Island, both very famous Revolutionary War battles. He was chosen as the first president of Georgia under the state's temporary Republican government. When he signed the state constitution in 1777, this position transferred from president to, of course, governor of Georgia. Bulloch died in Savannah while preparing to defend it against the British invasion in 1777. There are some that say he was poisoned. He is buried in Colonial Cemetery in Savannah. I've been to his grave many times, and yet again, we have a field trip here, fellow Bulloch County Historical Society members. Bulloch Hall is a Greek Revival mansion in Roswell, Georgia, built in 1839. This mansion was built by Major James Stephen Bullock, a prominent planter from the Georgia coast. Major James Bullock was the grandson of our own Archibald. His friend, Roswell King, invited him to this new settlement in North Georgia. Major Bullock selected a 10-acre plot of land to construct this elegant home. It was built by trained laborers and also slaves. James' second wife was Martha Stewart. She was an Elliot. They had a child that they named Martha, but was called Mittie, who was raised at Bulloch Hall. Mittie was 15 when she met Theodore Roosevelt Sr. at Bulloch Hall. They fell in love and began planning a wedding through letters between Mittie in Roswell and Theodore in New York. They were married at Bulloch Hall in Georgia on December 22, 1853. Guests came from many miles and stayed for up to a week. After the wedding, they moved to New York City, and a home was built for them at 28 East 29th Street. Of course, I Googled this, and no, it no longer exists. Their son, Elliot Bullock, had a daughter named Eleanor. She married her fifth cousin, Franklin Theodore Roosevelt. Their son, Theodore Jr., became the 26th President of the United States. People in the South were infuriated that President Roosevelt invited Booker T. Washington to dine in the White House. Consequently, he waited several years from this episode to blow over and finally visited Bulloch Hall for the first time in 1905. The beautiful home of his mother. So, Martha Bullock, called Mittie, became the mother of the United States President and grandmother of the First Lady of the United States. She was the great-granddaughter of our own Archibald Bullock. What a wonderful bit of history we have right here in Statesboro and Bulloch County. Till later, bye.